Lesson 3 Part Animations. Welcome to the Part Animations tutorial for Keyshot. In this video, we are going to talk about the different types of models and part animations you can do with them in Keyshot. You can have your timeline open, which will be populated with all the animations. If you click and open the animation wizard, you can see the different type of animations we can do. You can see that each of them have a small video preview of what type of animation they will create. The first option, turntable, can only be applied to a whole model. That is, this will be a rotation of the whole model around a particular point. Transition will be movement in linear directions. Rotation will be rotations around a part or around a certain reference geometry. We can also work with fades. These fades can be anywhere in between 0 to 100% visibility. Let's start with turntable animations. Select turntable and then hit next. It will ask you for the model you would like to animate. You can go ahead and select the default headphone model in the menu or choose an external model. For now, choose to work with the headphones. As mentioned earlier, if you do not have these default headphones model in your import window, then please download this model from grabcat.com, or again you can use a model that you would prefer. When you click next, it will already give you a default animation of degrees with the default time value of 5 seconds. The default center of rotation will be the model and the default direction will be clockwise, which you can freely change. Go ahead and press finish. You can scrub through the timeline and get a rough idea of the animation before actually proceeding with it. You can also press play and get a good video preview. As you can see, the model and its ray trace bounces or its real-time settings are getting calculated in the window. Loop will help the video to play continuously. The default value will be 360 degrees for that rotation as you saw earlier. You can also specify counterclockwise for the direction, but start with clockwise in the beginning. One thing I want to mention in here is working with motion easing. The default setting for motion easing will be set to linear, which means there's a constant velocity as this part turns around. If I press the drop down menu, through which I can get a variety of different motions, I can use easing in, easing out, and a combination of easing in and easing out. I will show you this once again for continuing further. So we started importing the headphones for the animation through the default window. Here you can see the motion ease in, ease out, or the combination of easing in and easing out. Select combination of easing in and easing out. You can see the movement will be a little more natural. It has a bit acceleration in the beginning and deceleration at the end. But before I show you that, I'm going to delete the turntable one where the ease in and ease out word added. I'm gonna start it off. This is also where I can adjust any of my time values. So if I want to make this go a little longer, all I have to do is punch in the values or keep it to default value of 5 seconds. What I can also do is increase the time by increasing the window by increasing this bar in in the timeline window. If you want to add a transition, this is going to be a linear movement of a part. There are few ways you can do this. First, you can select animation and then select transition for a part. In this case, I am going to basically go through a copy of my scene tree and then can select the part you want to animate. I can also rename that animation for that part. In this case, I'm going to basically go through a copy of scene tree and then you can select the part you want to animate. In this case, you can then select the ear cup and hit next. It's going to add an animation onto the timeline down at the bottom, but in this video I have not selected the ear cup. I've selected some different part to animate. If you scrub through the animation or if you press play, you can see the animation taking place in the video. The problem you will face here will be that since you imported the model with its original values, it will only move in the value of 1 mm. So set it back to 0 and reset it to a value that will be a little more visible. Example, minus 30 mm in x axis to move it in the right direction. As you can see, the part moves. I'm going to play it again so that you can notice the part moving. Now you can just select the animation and move it to the beginning of the timeline as I just did. You can select both the animations and press play, and you can see that part moving. Now you can add a little motion ease in and ease out, and you can make this animation take a little longer. Now you can just select the animation and move it to the beginning of the timeline, but you can adjust it accordingly as I just did, so that the timeline will merge in, the timeline animation will merge in and make one smooth animation. Secondly, you can animate these other parts, but instead of working with the animation wizard, you can actually just select the part you want to animate on the top left. In this case, since we all have already added animation to one of the parts on the right, I'm going to add animation to the left here by left clicking on the part and go under animation and clicking add transition. Repeat as you did for right ear cup, your part, or you can just simply paste linked animation. And as you can see, part on the left is also getting affected. Now when you press play, you can see both the parts moving together. You can also add a rotation to those parts. You can select the left and then the right part, and then again, instead of going to the animation wizard, you can directly select the part you want to animate and hit animation and add rotation. Now when you scrub through the timeline, you will see the part rotating. You can then go ahead and turn off the other animation just so that they don't distract you. The default value here will be rotation of 90 degrees. Since in this case it's a symmetrical part, you can type a value of 180 degrees, and you can go ahead and add a little bit of motion ease in and out. You can also have the ability to add pivot points. So if you want this part to rotate around another part, say a movable arm or a desk lamp, then you can pick a rotation point that is not the object itself. In this case, the default value itself is the center point of the object itself. So now you can have that part rotating. You can also do that for the right ear cup, but to save time, you can copy the animation. So you can right click on the animation you want to copy and click copy animation and find the part, in this case the ear cup I want to copy the animation to, and then I can paste the animation by clicking paste under the animation tab. So now both ear cups will be rotating. You can now adjust the spacing of the animation on the timeline to make an appropriate animation, as long as they are multi-selected, so that the animation does not get messed up. Another thing you can do to save time, since you have animated these parts to move out, you can select all these parts in the timeline and mirror them. Now you can press play and you will see that the animated parts move out and then suddenly move back in because of the mirrored parts. This is the mirrored part moving in the other direction. Lastly, you can use the fade animation. In this, you can go to the animation wizard, select fade, and have the whole model fade in and then fade out. So select the headphones and click next, and you can fade it from 0 to 100%. That option is not available out here because of the old version of KeyShot, but it will be available from KeyShot 5. Now when you scrub through your timeline in fade in and fade out, you will see that animation fade in, and just like you did before, you can right click that animation and mirror it, and you can add that to the end of your timeline so that it will fade out. Turn off the loop, click play, and you will see the part animation of your model.